Hey everybody, welcome to Harma Garage. I'm Aaron. Today we're going to be getting back on Project Dirty. If you've watched the other videos, you know Project Dirty is an 83 Chevy C10 short bed that we're cleaning up and putting a motor in. And today we're going to continue just that. So the motor's in. First thing I'm going to do today is change out this steering box. I'll see if I can show you why. If you can see that the whole end's busted out of it. So I got another one. It's used off another truck they brought me. So we're gonna go ahead and throw that in before we get too much further with anything else, so we got plenty of access to get to it. I'm gonna take this bolt out right here so I can separate the column here. You got your pitman arm where it connects to the drag link down here, and then there's 3 bolts here, and that whole thing should drop right out of there. I'm gonna go ahead and get set up and get started, and we're gonna pull that out. Okay, I already went down underneath and broke the pitman arm loose from the drag link, and I got these 2 front bolts off of the steering box that are easier to get from underneath. So now we just got to go ahead and get these 2 over here out and get that column loose, and we'll be able to pull it out. Now you guys can't see a whole lot of what I'm doing, but not really a good angle to get at this. Alright, that's loose. I'm going to go ahead and just take this last bolt out. I don't think this thing's going to fall, because it's still sitting on, the pitman arm's still sitting on top of the drag link. But if it does, it's out, right? There we go. Now, get that off. Not quite sure. Alright. we got that out. I'm going to go ahead and take this steering shaft off of there, and then we're going to clean it up and paint it. And I think I have a new reg joint. If I do, I'll go ahead and replace it. If not, that one's not in that bad of shape. But I'm going to grab that off, and then I'll start getting ready to paint it. Okay, I got the steering shaft off, and from the factory there's holes drilled through here, and they put like a nylon or a Teflon in there, almost like a U-joint, if you've ever let the worms out of a U-joint to get it out. And what that is, that allows this shaft to collapse, open and close. And they do that so if you get in an accident, when it gets hit, it crumples there, I guess you'd say, or slides in, and that way it doesn't jam the steering column into your chest. When I was just taking this off, you don't have a lot. With this in here, it doesn't move a whole lot. So like I had to hammer this down a little bit, and it just folded up the rag joint down here, and then I had to drop the box and got it the rest of the way out. So since I'm cleaning it up and everything anyways, I'm going to go ahead and melt this Teflon out of here, and that allows this shaft to move. And then when you go to put it in, take it out, whatever, it moves a lot freer. And if you ever get in an accident, it just moves instead of having to break through that first, which I'm sure it does its job. I'm sure some scientists figured it out and whatever, but either way, I'm going to go ahead and melt it out of there. So just take a little torch, just start getting this hot, and that stuff should melt right out. You guys can see that. You see it's starting to push that Teflon out of there. You just keep going, keep heating it up, and it'll all come out. Now you got that done. You see it. I'm not going to say it goes in easy, but it goes in. And I'm going to let it cool off a little bit so I don't burn the crap out of myself. But then we can slide it back out as far as it'll go, and we can clean all that up so it slides easy. So just a little tip, makes it a lot easier if you're changing a steering box or something like that, to have that shaft be able to move easy, freely. So let's get it cleaned up and we'll paint it. Alright, well I ended up doing a lot more work on that steering shaft than I had planned on. I was just gonna scuff it up, shoot some paint on it, throw it back in so it looked halfway decent. I might not have mentioned this before, but this dirty here, we're not trying to make it a show truck. We're not trying to do a full restoration on it. We're just trying to make it a dependable driver that looks decent. But I get carried away, I got OCD, and I can't just do anything halfway. I've already gone a lot further than what we needed to, cleaning stuff up, and I'll probably continue to do that because that's just the way I am. But anyways, I found a rag joint, so we completely disassembled the steering shaft, and I cleaned it all up, and I got a coat of paint on it. This is good paint. It's some Rust-Oleum automotive grade paint and primer in one, 2 times the coverage, blah blah blah. So it all kind of depends on what the part is, but I got one good coat on it. I'll let it dry good. I got the oven on here in the paint booth to bake the paint, so we'll see how the first coat turns out and decide whether or not we're going to put a second coat on it. I just noticed a spot that I missed, so I'm going to touch that up real quick. Boom, done. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, I've got the new to us steering box here. It's already pretty cleaned up and looks halfway decent, so I'm just going to wipe it off and put it in. So that'll be the next thing. We're going to clean up the frame rail here a little bit just because it's got a lot of crap on it, and maybe shoot some primer or some of this paint behind it so we slow down any of the rust process or anything like that in between the box and the frame. They get weak there and break a lot. I've seen it many times. So anything we can do to keep it in good shape, we're gonna go ahead and do that. But right now we're gonna throw that steering box back in. Okay, I'm just knocking all this loose crap off the frame here. A bunch of cobwebs and dirt, whatever else has made it behind the steering box in the last 30 years or so. 40, I don't know, it's been a while. And I'll just grab a piece of Scotch-Brite, clean the rest of the loose dirt off, scuff it up a little. Probably way too cold in here to do this, so I got the heater going on the paint over there, but it'll dry someday, right? This will also help for later on when the suspension gets done. I already got paint back here behind the steering box, so it won't look like you painted around it. Alright, I don't know how easy this is going to be, but I'm going to try to set this back down in there and get it set in my drag link, get the pitman arm set in the drag link down there and try to get this bolt started. Looks like we got it. Let's see if I can start this one too. Alright, I'm going to go underneath and do the front bolts, but I'm going to go ahead and, I don't want to tighten these all the way in case I need to shift it a little bit to get it in, but I'm just going to get them snug and then we'll go back and tighten them up once we get the other bolts in. Alright, I got everything underneath buttoned up, got the pitman arm hooked back up to the drag link. Got the bottom bolts in, or the front bolts in and tight. Just tighten these last two up. And we're done. Waiting for the steering shaft to dry. That could be tomorrow. Could be later today. But we're letting it dry, and then we'll go ahead and put it back in. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for it to dry, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the wiring harness. So we'll do that now. We got our underhood harness all laid out here. And I'm going to go through and fix all the bad wires and relume it, clean it up, put new connectors on places that need them, so on and so forth. I've already basically simplified this harness. It's a lot of stuff on it that was specific to the truck when it was new that the truck doesn't have or isn't going to have anymore. So as I was taking it out, I went ahead and took a bunch of that stuff out too. But what I'm doing right now This is the headlight portion of the harness, runs up to the grill, hooks up to the headlights and all that. And I'm going to go ahead and pull all the old loom and tape and tie downs and whatever else off of it, get it down to bare wire so I can go through and check all the wires and make sure they're good. This isn't something that you normally just do. I usually like to check them and make sure they're cleaned up fairly good. But this one, as I was taking it out of the truck for painting and whatnot, I noticed there's some really bad spots in the wire, especially the main power cables going down to the starter. The temperature sensor wire for the gauge is completely almost bare. Probably been sitting on an exhaust manifold for 20 years or something. Then I went to unplug the headlights and all the headlight pigtails just crumbled as I tried to unplug them. So we got new headlight pigtails. But just those type of things led me to wanting to go through the whole thing, check it out, make sure it's good. So that's what we're doing here. I hate to go through all this work putting in a new motor and cleaning up and all that and then have none of the electrical work on it. So we're just going to take the extra time and fix it up while we got it. Don't sound good. Wires aren't supposed to make snapping noises when you bend them. This is the driver's side front parking light, and this tape is really hard, which leads me to believe this wire's been hot for some reason, and it's not pliable at all. So we're going to go ahead and open it up and check it out. Butt connector's right here. So somebody's been in here and messed with this thing before, because Chevy didn't use uninsulated blue butt connectors. And it's a good point. I'm not going to use uninsulated blue butt connectors either. I don't like using the butt connectors because when you put them all together in the same spot and tape them up, it makes a big bulge in the wiring, and it can make it hard to route through spots it needs to route through, and it also looks terrible. So I got uninsulated butt connectors and heat shrink, and we're gonna do it like they did it at the factory. So get rid of these. It's in good shape. And the wiring for this light up to this point looks pretty good. I don't see any burns or breaks or anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and finish cleaning this off, and then we'll reconnect it right, as long as this wiring's not as bad as it seems. I think there may be another set of butt connectors right here. I'm not sure what they had going on, but whatever it was, I think they made a bigger problem than they fixed. One thing about doing it this way, ask me how I know. You want to make sure you work slow enough and pay enough attention that you remember to put your heat shrink on before you make your connections. Because if you don't, then you get to cut it back and do it again. just like that. We'll slide our heat shrink over it. When you go to shrink this, you can use a number of different things. Cigarette lighter works, heat gun works. I usually just use this little torch because it's handy. Doesn't have to be plugged in. Got a good enough handle on it that I don't burn myself very often. And that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up wiring this light. And keep checking my wires all the way down. I'm going to put my new headlight pigtails on. And just make sure everything seems good. And then I'll check back in with you guys and we'll work down another leg of this harness. Okay, I got it all finished up. Got my new headlight connectors on. Got all the wires that were damaged or bad or whatever just in this headlight harness part fixed. Well, the next thing I'm going to do is take split loom, brand new split loom, and start at the plug here. Maybe. Okay, so you get the idea what I'm doing with that. I'm just going to run the split loom all the way down. I'll put the pieces on in between my brakes where wires come out, and then I'll take electrical tape and tape it about every 10-12 inches, and then we'll start working on the ignition system wiring here. Alright, so I was working on this wiring harness. Bear with me guys, I'm sick, real sick. I got upper respiratory infection and really not feeling that great, but pushing through it, working, and I'm definitely not going to go without getting a video out this week. So we're going to push through and get going, but a little slower than normal. Still going to get something done. So I've been working on this wiring harness for dirty, and for the most part it's done. It's all simplified, cleaned up. Everything that's a long run has split loom on it. This goes out to my alternator and my starter, temperature sending unit. It's my ignition wire for my distributor, oil pressure gauge. It's my junction box going out to all my heater stuff, and then that's the front headlight harness. There is these wires here go to the rear tail lights. I'm going to put a weather pack connector on those, so if for any reason the harness has to be pulled out again, it doesn't have to be cut. And same thing with my heater controls. I'm going to put a weather pack connector on those so they can just plug in. So we're about ready to put this back in there. I can do those connectors once it's already in. So we're going to slap it in the truck and keep on moving. Alright, routing this wiring harness back in here. Gonna try not to scratch everything up and kind of get everything where it needs to go. Okay, so we got it all routed back where it's supposed to go. That headlight wire will go back across over to the other side. So I got the motor at top dead center. Before I put the steering shaft back in or do anything else, I want to go ahead and drop the distributor and put the oil pressure sending unit on it. So we're gonna get the distributor ready, get that going, and we'll throw that in, see how it goes. Alright, we got our distributor here. It's brand new. You can order these off eBay for like 60 bucks, I think. They come with a new coil, the control modules in there, pretty much ready to go. I've used a bunch of them, never had any problems with them. But we got our motor at top dead center. Hopefully our oil pump priming rod is in the general vicinity of where it needs to be. And then we just want to point it at number 1 and get it to drop all the way in. And it's gonna fight us all the way. Of course it would. Alright, there's something seriously wrong going on here. I'm gonna dig into it, see if I can find out what it is, and I'll let you guys know when I figure it out. Alright, as soon as I turned the camera off, the distributor fell into place. So that's how it works, and it is what it is. At least it's in there now. So that's good. I got the wiring harness routed through its little holder. Got it mounted. Got all my heat and AC stuff plugged in there. Like I said before, I'm gonna get like a weather pack connector to hook those back together. And there's a couple down here that are gonna be the same way for the rear lights and stuff. I just want to make them unpluggable, so if for any reason you got to take the harness out or anything like that, you can just unplug them. They don't have to be cut, because the rear wires on the older, like 73 to 80 trucks, they have a plug-in right there at the firewall. You can just unplug it and take the harness out, but these don't. Wires run all the way to the back. So I'm just going to put a plug in there to make it easier. Next thing I'm going to do is try to get the headers in here. If I remember correctly, the driver's side can go in from the top, passenger side has to go in from the bottom. I was going to throw the alternator in, but I realized I forgot to paint one piece of the bracket, so I got it over warming up in the paint booth right now. So we'll go ahead and slap these headers in real quick and keep on trucking along. Okay, like I said, I think the driver's side header will go in from the top. I could be wrong, I don't remember. But we got these headers from Summit. It's a very affordable kit. It's both headers with gaskets, collectors, bolts for the collectors, and bolts to bolt the headers on. And it's like 170 bucks or something. They're decent headers. I've used them a bunch of times. I like them. So we're gonna go with these again and see if we can't get them in here. Alright, got all my stuff together. See if we can set this down in here without scratching nothing. You may notice I took all the spark plugs back out. That really makes it a lot easier to get the headers in there. Most of the time these header gaskets come with slotted holes, so you can just set them, you know, get 2 bolts started and then set them in there. These didn't, but we'll make do. I'm going to try to start the hardest bolt first because I'm a glutton for punishment. Well, maybe I'll start this front one first. Okay. And I'll try to get one back here. Alright, I got 2 bolts started, got the gasket in. That'll at least hold everything in place. I'll go ahead and start the rest of my bolts. Okay, all that's left on that one's just to tighten it up. I know one header has to come in from the bottom, so judging by the fact that we got this one in from the top, I know it's going to be the other one, but I'm going to try to get it in from the top. I don't have the starter in. I don't have anything hooked up on that side, so we might be able to get it in there. We'll see. Pretty sure we're going to have to take that oil dipstick tube out. Okay, I just made myself look like an idiot. Went in really easy. Maybe it's the driver one that gives you problems if you got the steering shaft in. I don't know. But it went in. I'm happy about that. Not the first time I made myself look like an idiot, right? Definitely won't be the last. Alright, both headers are in, bolts are in loosely. Just wanted to go over it with you real quick. If you're putting new headers on for the first time, or even if you're putting used headers on, you always want to start with your inside bolts, get them good and tight, and then work your way out, because these flanges have a tendency to be warped, and they usually warp in the center. So if you get that nice and tight, it pulls that in flat and puts more pressure on the outside. So you tighten up your 2 center bolts first and then move out, and they usually hold a little bit better. Obviously their headers, you're going to have to tighten them up all the time. It's just part of having headers. But I'm going to go ahead and tighten those down, and then we'll get back with you guys. Alright, I got the headers all tightened down. They're in there, look good. It's a little bit too much of the same color on this thing for me. I usually like it when you got like a bright colored block and then accent brackets and stuff like that, but it's not mine. This is how they wanted it. They wanted the block to be black, so we did it. But I've got, I don't think I showed you guys this yet. I might have, but I got the steering shaft and all the pieces all cleaned up. They're painted, they're dry, ready to go. I got the piece right there. It's the other piece of the alternator bracket that I thought I had. I didn't think anything. I totally forgot about it. So we can't paint it to put the alternator on. And the next stuff that I have to do is going to be underneath the truck. I got to put torque converter bolts in. I got to replace the transmission mount. I got to put the starter on, hook it up. Stuff like that. I apologize for this video, guys. I really do not feel good at all. I refuse to go a week without putting a video up because I try to push myself and make sure I get one up every week. So this might not be much of a video, but it's a video and it's going up. So I appreciate you guys, everybody that watches my videos, everybody that's subscribed. If you're not subscribed, you should probably do that, because I might come out with the best video you've ever seen in your life. You never know. But that being said, I've been pushing most of the day. My medicine's wearing off, and I'm gonna go home and try to relax and whatever. So if you could, like, share, subscribe. And I still have the Buy Me a Coffee that I'm collecting money to donate to a veteran charity. If you'd like to do that, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/HarmonGarage and buy me a coffee. Or if you don't want to or can't, I understand. No hard feelings. But I'm gonna go take some medicine and try to get feeling better so the next video can be great. So y'all have a good one, and we'll see you next time.